We'll start with you.
Sure.
Maryann.
Okay. This is a painting I have just completed of, it's called Spirit in the Sky, and it's of foxglove. The idea behind it, coming out of the pandemic, I feel that what gave me hope was seeing nature just continue to rise up, you know, in spite of. And I feel like that was what I had to do, as we all did during this time. Interestingly, one of my favorite artists is Egon Schiele, and he features very long, thin compositions. And in looking at his work, he died in 1918 of the Spanish flu, of the last pandemic. So it was
There was
really
a connection.
it was serendipitous that I was thinking of him, and I saw these at a local nursery, and they just had this stretching to heaven, to hope out of, you know, confine. And then to be thumbing, because I'll often do that, I'll look at artists whom I enjoy or admire, and I'll look at their work a little, you know, and then I read that he died of the Spanish flu, the last pandemic. It was just very full circle.
It was almost as if you were connected with him.
Exactly.
It was creating
So
this
Spirits
beautiful.
in the Sky.
Spirits in the
And,
Sky is that what
the name of the painting.
Oh, I love
Yes,
that.
I do too. And I feel a spiritual connection when I'm to what I'm painting and when I'm painting. So
I understand that because as a writer, I do too.
Yeah.
Because you paint from the heart and I write from the heart.
Mhm.
I love that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rhonda.
So yes, now Edwina, if you'll tell us a little bit about what you're working on now,
Yeah.
with ferns, and how this started for you, the process.
Yeah, so this is what I'm working on right now. I started this painting laying it in about a year and a half ago. And actually, so I had taken the image, because I try to work from life as much as possible, but I was really inspired by this forest floor in Oregon. And it was my last trip. You guys are big travel people. It's my last trip right before the pandemic. We got home and then COVID began. So I started working on this piece, and I was so inspired by all these people who were, you know, now working from home and finding new ways to connect digitally. So I actually did a time-lapse video of me filling in this whole painting, which is something I'd never done before. So I wanted to kind of reach out of my comfort zone and do that, just like all these people, you know, like now yoga was online, everybody was work from home, right? So I wanted to share my process in a digital platform. Then after I did that, I didn't work on the painting anymore. I put the painting aside after I did that project, because then it was the spring and the flowers were starting to bloom. And I really didn't have a show on the horizon or anything like that, so I started to just paint these small paintings of flowers around my garden, and they were just intimate, small paintings, and I really loved doing them. And I made a bunch, and I posted them on Instagram, and I sold some, and you know, and it was just a nice way to just keep painting and just stay calm and focused, right? And so then this piece is from my garden outside our house. And I've painted this garden every year for the past 5 years now, in different formats. I've done just little pieces, I've done a few big ones, and so I knew I wanted to scale up from those small. I felt ready to scale up, right? And so I started to work on this piece. And as much as I love doing it, when you paint in plein air, you're fighting the elements, you're fighting the changing light, it's hot, it's the lawn guys come that day, or a deer eats your whole subject. So there's a lot of stuff you're dealing with.
Right.
And so as you know, I enjoyed it, but I missed the intimacy of working on just a few flowers, but I loved this scale. So then that's how I got to this piece, to this whole series. So I knew I wanted to just paint a handful of flowers, but I wanted to keep that scale. So instead of painting all these flowers, I just painted a few and I scaled them up. So this piece was part of a show that I had at Fine Art in Southampton, and the whole room was filled with these larger than life flowers. And it felt really full circle because it basically, the show opened the first weekend we were allowed to venture out without masks. And so many people came up to me and just said, this is what I needed. I needed to be in a room full of happy, bright, colorful things. And you know, the only thing I could say back was, this is what I needed. Like, I painted it because I needed it,
Yeah.
you know? So yeah, and I can't help but notice how our color palettes are basically the same.